at the end of John's Gospel, Jesus is talking to his friends, and he says, look, you're going to feel some sorrow. It's about to come. But it's going to be followed with a joy that's intense. Just like a woman giving birth, it has this sorrow, but she forgets the sorrow once the baby arrives. You are about to experience this joy, he says, in your heart, so intense, no one can take it from you. So yeah, it's a story about joy, but it's really a story about freedom. Finding that thing, that soul, that self, that place that no one can take from you. So it was a great privilege for me to spend the last couple of days in the Black Hills of South Dakota, along with Joseph Thunderface Olguin and his son, Joseph Thunderface Olguin Jr., who are half Apache, so that's why I invited them to come to this big conference in Rapid City. It was an international youth conference, and so part of our trip there was we went up to the mountaintop to the Crazy Horse Memorial, and it's the largest rock carving in the world, larger than Mount Rushmore. And they've only finished so far after 50 years the head of Crazy Horse, and Crazy Horse was a famous Lakota warrior, famous for kicking General Custer's ass in at the Battle of Little Bighorn. So anyway, this mountain is just has his head, but when it's done, it's going to be this horse with him sitting on this horse and he's pointing. And the pointing comes from a very famous moment when, after the U.S. government had taken away all the Indians' land, he's talking to this guy who kind of mocks him and points out and says, "Tell me, where is your land now?" And Crazy Horse points at this amazing land, green and lush and trees and the black hills and the blue sky. He points out at this expansive land and he says, "My land is where my dead lie buried," which is to say, you can't take my land, which is powerful because it's about freedom. How do you find that thing that nobody can touch and nobody can take? And that's the whole point of living. So when I ask a homie who's just remarkable in his kindness and his goodness and his tenderness, even though he suffered so much abuse and abandonment and violence in his life, I said, "How are you like this?" And he says, "You know, years ago I suspected there was some goodness in me, but I couldn't find it until one day I found it right here. Goodness. And ever since that day I have known who I am, and now no one can touch me." You find the truth of who you are, that you're exactly what God had in mind when God made you. No bullet can pierce this. No 4 prison walls can keep this out. And death can't touch it. Find the thing that nobody can touch, that no one can take from you. So I just got a letter from this Jesuit named Jack Morris. We all call him Blackie Morris, and he's one of the most famous, wonderful Jesuits I've ever been privileged to know. And he just celebrated 50 years as a priest, and he's dying of cancer. He weighs 160 pounds, and he talks about the pain and all these things. And then he says, "I keep finding joy in this mysterious adventure." Nobody can touch him. Not death, not pain, not cancer, nothing. You'll feel sorrow for a time, but then this joy will rush in, so intense, no one can take it from you.
Yes, right.